That's such a Magnus Carlsen move. Such a professional approach by the youngest participant in the candidates.
So these were the opening moves to this incredible game. Vidit Gujarati with the white pieces, Gukesh D with black. It all looks normal, an Italian game, but after D3 we get pawn to A6. Not one of the most common moves. This is a massive sideline and it absolutely freaks Vidit out. This is the Candidates Chess Tournament. It's round 8. Gukesh was bouncing back from a defeat to Ali Reza, and this game is just incredible. So mature and featuring a move that Danya describes as Magnus Carlsen-esque. Now after this pawn move, what did Vidit do? Well, he sat there and counted to 1200 Mississippi just to try and steady his nerves, because he castles the king after 20 minutes thought. Some of the time usage by this guy is nuts. And what does Gukesh now do? Just to add insult to injury, goes pawn h6, full crab pincer movement, gets up from the board and even sideway walks to the restroom, doing pincer movements as he goes, just to get inside Vidit's head here. Excellent stuff from the youngster. Vidit finally goes a4. 30 minutes down on the clock, it's move 6, he's got the white pieces. Gukesh won the opening battle, and after bishop c5 the game gets more normal. Vidit challenges the diagonal. d6 now played. Sure, you can take me bro, but big clamp coming here on d4, so not played. Knight b to d2. We get castles. c3, looking for a big centre later, or after rook e8, looking for some rapid queenside expansion. But with great space comes great responsibility, and Vidit proves to us all here he is no Peter Parker. He does not show the responsibility he should. He plays a very reckless move here, looks very natural, but not the one. It's pawn to b5. We're gonna see why this is so bad. Looks innocuous, right? But it's not. Better was queen c2 or h3, something slow and steady, right? But this one played, the knight drops all the way home, now the bishops come off, rook recaptures, queen c2 here, the knight re-enters the game, maybe headed for c5, so d4 comes, the white position looks great, right? But this move, queen to e8, really highlights the massive problems that white has got. This e4 pawn is tender as a lamb shank in the depth of spring. How do you actually defend it adequately? Sure, you can bring a rook to defend, which we see in the game, but that comes with problems. What if you push on with d5? Well, then the rook simply drops back and it's positional suicide, giving up that c5 square. The white pawn structure, a mess. Same problems if you capture on e5. You still give the massive square. Knight g4 also coming in that variation. So that's why we see rook a to e1. Idea being, you take here, I take back, pawn is now well covered. And the reason that a rook went is that now, after a takes on b5, a takes on b5, black can't swap the rooks here on the a file and then execute on this threat to win e4. But there's a different problem now. Rook a5 highlights it. c4 covers that pawn, but queen a8. Gukesh has won, the only open file on the board, and when there's only one, it takes on even greater importance. What can Vidit do? We already discussed the problems with takes or d5, this massive hole you leave. So he goes h3, just sitting and waiting. Rook e8 prepares to join the fight. We get king h2, pawn b6, rook f2. Sure, Vidit wants to attack down the f file, but how do you really engineer it? The centre's kind of blocked up. Hard for these pieces to join any kind of meaningful attack. Meantime, rook a2 comes. Queen d3, rook a3, bit of tickle, not literally, just on the board. Knight h4, finally Vidit going for counterplay, but look at the time, you know, he's way down. Gukesh has caught him up a bit, to be fair, but now he's under pressure hugely because black is invading, white's going nowhere. Rook a8 now played, 19 points of material barreling down one file on the board. You do have to be careful when you sideline your forces, don't get mated. But the white queen also in Siberia. Knight f5 played, looking for knight e7 check, then spinning round to c6 or d5 potentially. So what does Gukesh do? Very classy move, king to f8. Covering the square. This is where Danya had this to say.
That's such a Magnus Carlsen move. Such a professional approach by the youngest participant in the candidates.
It really is majestic chess. Everything about this game. We get rook e to f1, barreling down the f-file, but to what end? Everything's blocked there. Rook a1 now played. You can take and go for an exchange, but still black then dominates the only open file. Queen d3 played instead, therefore, to keep some complications, and now queen b4. Gukesh probing, going to work like a surgeon, Magnus Carlsen-esque. A pair of rooks leave the board. We get rook recaptures, and now this is just desperation from Vidit. If he sits there, doesn't do too much, then Gukesh will slowly improve. Picture a rook on c3, for example. Then where does the queen go to stay with the e4 pawn here? You know, there's always this big pressure. If the queens leave the board or the knight moves, then everything collapses. This center is just too heavily under fire. So in the game, we see c5. Horrible move, but going for play. Gives the square for the knight on c4, but now who is really attacking whom? Because the queen hits e1, the rook has to save itself, and now the deadly check is landed. The king driven out into the open, Gukesh herding that sheep forward. The emperor has no clothes. We get check. Now king h4 played, and the second knight joins the attack. Gukesh going for the mating attack. He could have gone for something positional. Takes here and then bring a knight in to fork this queen and rook here. But he wants to checkmate. So knight takes on h6 played. There was a threat of g5 mate otherwise. Queen h2 back, threatening a different kind of checkmate. So knight f5 covers the square. Rook f1 now, preparing to eliminate the defender. g4 supports it. Also hits the black queen, and now how about this for an exceptional finish? Gukesh plays the swashbuckling rook takes on f5, because if white takes off this queen here, then can you see the nice checkmating finish? All to do with the king in a mating net, pawn g5 mate. Normally not possible, you know, the king takes here, but it's supported by the other knight. Beautiful. So the queen not touched. Whoops, here. Instead, we see rook takes, pawn takes rook, now queen g3 check, the king staggers forward, and knight h7 check was the final move of the game. If you capture this knight, not played, then this is the checkmating finish. Very unusual pattern, very beautiful. This guy, Gukesh D, is serious. Imagine if Gukesh A turns up to the World Cup to face Ding Liren, World Championship rather. Bit tired today, apologies, long weekend. Hope you enjoyed this video. Smash subscribe if you never want to miss one and see another epic game of chess from Gukesh. Check out the video on screen. Cheers.